So what's next? Now we need to set the poses, and this is the important thing. What we need to do is set poses for the entire character. And we'll get into character set editing later on, but for right now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off those facial controls. We don't need them, and we're not going to set any controls for them. We're going to be able to select the entire character like this. If I select everything, because the mesh is unselectable, and all I'm doing is selecting just the controls, I've selected every control inside of Moom 4. So it's Moom Transform. All of his transforms are under this little icon right there, the do not touch part, but all these controls are under here, right? And here, all the keyables. Just making sure that I'm only selecting the keyable elements, which it looks pretty good. Okay. By doing that, I'm going to hit S and set the keyframe for frame number 1. What I'm doing at frame number 1 is I'm setting his T-pose, and I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to move this time slider here, the time range, to frame number 2, set the keyframe to frame number 2, and set the keyframe again. One more time. Frame number 2, everything's been set. There we go. I've set 248 keys. So now I can, with auto keyframe turned on, I can move this guy around and start setting that first pose. So let's go back to my Photoshop file, to here, and there's my first pose, which is the right leg is back, the left leg is forward. So, and the hip is down. I'm going to move the hip downward, and the right leg is back. You notice that's a right is red. Same thing over here. Right is red. So pull that back, and with this back here, I want to lift this thing up on its toe, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to rotate the foot like that because it goes through the ground. That's not good. So what we can do is we can use a ball to toe and just do a little roll like that. So we're going to move this foot back in space to about there. I'll move this foot forward in space and do the same thing. Use the ball to toe and back. And notice over here, all of these controls have red by them. That means I've keyed frame at frame number 1. And as I adjust these things, those keyframes get updated because auto keyframe is turned on. If I had this off, if I made a change to this guy, if I moved it and changed its ball to toe number, it would tell me in yellow that you haven't made a change yet. So you'd have to go right click on this guy and key that selected thing. Right click on that, key that selected thing. Make a change. Oh, I need to make that update. So this little icon turns that, so whenever I make that change, it updates automatically and rekeys it. Okay? Now when the left leg goes forward like this, what you want to do is you take the body, the lower part of the body here, and you rotate it this way. Like that. You rotate it toward the foot it's heading toward. So from above, you'll see, I'm just turning the whole body toward that angle. See the little arrow right there is a little bit more facing that forward foot. That gives you a little more reach, and your body tends to do that. It varies from person to person and how fast they're walking, how much energy they're putting into the walk. But generally speaking, that's a pretty good starting point. Great. So far so good. We've set every keyframe. We'll work on the upper body in the next pass. We're just going to go right straight to frame number 3. We're not going to worry about timing. We're just going to worry about posing. We're going to pose all the keyframes and then worry about the timing later. Let's select everything again at frame number 3 and hit S. We set 248 keyframes for the entire character, and now we can make an adjustment to this. We're going to bring the body back up again. We're going to straighten out its rotation. I'm just going to zero out the rotation here. I'll bring this foot backwards underneath the body, and this body will be way coming down on this foot. I'm going to zero out that ball to toe roll. I'm going to bring this foot here up. I'm going to zero out that ball to toe roll. That ball to toe roll is when his foot's on the ground. I don't like it using it for up in the mid-air. It's up to you, but I just prefer myself to just rotate that foot. That way I get more control. I can actually turn to its side a little bit or just play around with exactly the way I want it to be. Generally people drag their toes across the ground kind of, and they tend to delay them pretty well like that. This is a very important part. I'm going to move the entire body over this foot. If you walk on top of one foot, that foot needs to carry the center of the weight. So I'm centering the entire body over that foot. So if I draw a line vertically here, if I draw a line vertically, let me just do a little grease pencil here. I draw a line vertically here. The mass of the body has to be centered over that foot. Otherwise he'll fall right over. So that's not going to work if I just keep it. And this is typical for a lot of walk cycles. I've seen even people who are students who are fairly far along still get this wrong. Get the body over that foot. And also, this can be somewhat a call for you, but I tend to tip the body like this over that foot, because as the pressure of the body comes down on that foot, it's going to push that down a little bit more. It pushes this hip straight up. So this pressure, gravity over the rest of the mass of the body, pushes down and tilts that pelvis like that. We'll worry about actually doing a contrapposto with the rest of the body in a second, but let's ignore that just for now and worry about the lower body mechanics first. I'm going to move this foot in a little bit. In the crossing phase, I tend to pull the feet in like this. You can grab the knee controls and either pull them out or in, depending on the kind of walk you're trying to give them. If it's a more female walk, you the knees a little bit in more. Depending on the clothes that you're wearing, the knee may tuck in a little bit more. Or more male walk is a little bit more outward. The term man spreading, that's kind of how it happens. It's just a physiological kind of thing. Width of the hips and just different physiological aspects of the human body. It also has a lot to do with the size of a person. A bigger person may walk a different way than a smaller person. An older person walks different than a younger person. Male, female, these all have things to do with how they walk. It's not just one thing. You take it all into consideration, and even to a certain extent, background and personality too. Different kinds of personalities. Introverts and extroverts walk a different way. We'll talk about that, and we'll discuss that with our acting friends here in a second. All right, so we have two keyframes now. We have this keyframe, this keyframe. So they're right off the bat. You can start seeing this motion happening. And again, forget the upper body for a minute. We'll just work on the lower body and just see that motion there. So the hip is rotated toward that foot on the y-axis, the up and down axis, and it tilts upward on the z-axis, this axis here, tilts that way. It's rotation like this on the z-axis at that next step. And that's not always the case. It's just a choice I made for this character myself. So, and the body shifts over this foot. So it's angled quite a bit this way. There's a lot more pressure that way. So most of the mass is going from here over to there. Okay. And the second pose is pretty much, the third pose is going to be pretty much this pose, but reversed. So we're going to go to the fourth pose back here. And I'm going to hit, select everything again, and hit S. So it's going from 2 back to this, then back to 2 again. What I could do is I can select everything in the body here and middle mouse drag to number 4 and copy the frames from 1 to 4. But they're 2 to 4. But let me do that a little bit later. That's a bit more complex, and I don't want to confuse anybody. So I'm just going to go back to 4 and put it back to where it was. So I can pretty much zero everything out If I just zero the translation and rotation, this guy gets back in the ground plane. Same thing here. It's pretty well zeroed out, but I'm going to zero that out anyway. I'll zero out the position rotation of this body part and go back to frame number 1 and kind of look at it. It's all it is pretty much down negative 2.47, so I can copy that, actually copy that number there. Go back to frame number 4 and paste it in and hit enter. So it goes back down again. So that's a nice fast way of doing things. This rotation here on the y-axis is negative 21. So if I copy that and go back to this frame and I paste that in, it's going the wrong direction because I need the foot to go the other way. So I can make this, instead of negative 21, a positive 21. It rotates the other way. I'll bring this foot forward like that. And remember, back in frame number 2, this foot was on the z-axis 1.681. Let's just click on this guy and bring it to that frame. 1.57. You don't have to be very precise with this stuff. It's probably better not to copy and paste every single time. Just eyeball it, and you're going to get, people are not exactly symmetrical. So get close, but not quite, and I think you're going to be actually better off. Let's pull the ball to toe back a little bit, and again, it's not going to be exactly the same. Look at this guy, I'm going to go that guy. Kind of got it matched there. It's pretty good. Let's bring this foot back to here. Ball to toe. Woo, the wrong way. Go back and forth. Pretty good. Now we just need to go back to this keyframe, number 3, and repeat that for this one. So we'll just do this and go back to frame number 5. So it's 3 is going to be the same as 5. Back to 5. Let's go here and copy. We'll just set a keyframe, hit S. Back to number 3. I'm going to show you a little fancy thing. Don't do this if you don't really feel comfortable with it, but you can take number 3, with everything selected, take number 3 and middle mouse drag from 3 to 5. You notice nothing changes in the scene. See that? That's actually the frame number 5. But if I go from 3 and I middle mouse drag to 5 and let go, it kind of holds that pose from number 3. So it's holding the pose from number 3, but I'm on number 5. Now when I hit S, it sets that keyframe. It sets that pose at number 5. So 3 is now the same as 5. Cool, huh? I'll do that quite a bit. I'll do the middle mouse drag trick quite a lot. But it's one of those things that really does save a lot of time. And now I can take this body part and instead of kind of having to do from 0, I can take these numbers here, like the translate X. I'll just reverse that. So instead of 0.466, I'll go negative 0.44, whatever. And the rotate Z, instead of being 4, will be negative 4. Just to reverse it. So put negative 4, there we go. So I've already reversed that. This one needs to be up in the air. This foot needs to be up in the air like that guy is. So I can almost take, because it's this one, the planet foot is kind of easy. I can just kind of cheat and just pull this up like this and rotate it down and match the one that's already in space. Boom, done. And this guy, I'll bring back down. I'll zero out everything. In fact, it's down on the ground. So it's kind of a cheat there. Let's look at this guy and go back to that guy. You just gotta go back and forth and just see where we're at. I mean, does it seem like it's a mirror of that image? Cool. So I'll give you a couple shortcuts, a couple tricks to make the flow more efficient. So, you know, if they're confusing, those tricks are confusing, just try to do it the manual way. But basically, 3 and 5 have to be just mirror of each other. 3, 5, 3, 5. And 2 and 4 should be mirrors of each other. 2, 4, 2, 4. So from the side view, 2, 4, 2, 4. 3, 5, 3, 5. If I play these, and I don't hit play because it'll be so crazy, let's right click and go to playback. Make sure our playback speed is set to real time, by the way. I'm just going to play these by hand. You just play these one after the other. You'll get this nice view of your animation. So mechanically, I think the lower half of the body is looking pretty good. Let's stop there and work on the upper half of the body in the next video.